clock we're looking at is a grand Sonnerie, which is a full striking clock, and a Ting Tang to boot. At 1/4 any hour, we will get 2 blows struck on 2 bells by 2 hammers here and here. So at 7:15, say, we will get Ting Tang. At 7:30, we will get Ting Tang twice, so it will be Ting Tang, again struck on 2 hammers. At 1/4 the hour, we have 3 Ting Tang, so it's Ting Tang, Ting Tang, Ting Tang. But then at the hour, only 1 hammer operates. And then at the hour, the correct number of blows will be struck on 1 hammer, 1 bell. Now, to explain to you further what that's all about, we would really have to divorce the repeat mechanism. So for the moment anyway, until we come to it later on, we can forget about this part here, we can forget about these levers here, we can forget about the surprise piece there, we can forget about the snail there, and just concentrate on the locking plate there. Now, the strike train itself operates very much like a normal striking clock with count wheel. The only difference is that on the count wheel, as well as striking the hours, we can strike the 1/4, the 1/2, and the 1/4. So, for example, on the surprise piece here, on the inside, we've got 4 lifters instead of the normal 2. If I turn the clock around, we can make certain comparisons with an ordinary striking clock. On this side, for the moment anyway, we only need to take account really of the hour wheel, the cannon pinion behind it, and the minute wheel here. The minute wheel extends between the plates to the back of the clock, and then on the back of this piece here we've got the 4 lifters. We've got here the lifting piece and the locking piece. So for example, the clock is about to strike 1/4. So the train will operate and lift the lifting piece. So we now have our warning, and then the lifting piece in there will fall off of the pin, and the locking wheel can make 1 revolution to strike 1/4. So that's Ting Tang striking on the 2 hammers. The next bit, we want the locking wheel to make 2 revolutions. So the locking lever here, after 1 revolution of the locking wheel, will fall onto a high part of the locking plate there, and so the train cannot lock until the locking wheel has made 2 revolutions. Then the locking lever here can fall into a gap on the locking plate again. That's warning. And Ting Tang, Ting Tang. So we had 2 revolutions of the locking wheel then, and the locking lever here is dropped into that space. Now at 1/4, we want 3 revolutions of the locking wheel. So we have a longer high part on the locking wheel then, on the locking plate. So we have Ting Tang, Ting Tang, Ting Tang. Now at the moment, that locking plate is acting simply as if it were an ordinary locking plate, striking 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock without striking the half hours. But it so happens in this particular instance, it was striking 1/4, 1/2 and 1/4. Now, at the hour, we don't get both hammers operating, only the one hammer. And what actually is going to happen at the hour is that on the minute wheel here we have a cam. The cam will cause this end of this lever to rise. This end of the lever drops forward. So we have this effect on the hammer arbors. See, the hammer arbor moves along. Now, when the hammer arbor moves along, we find that you've got two arbors in effect here, or two lifters, both on the same arbor. But the one towards the back of the clock, this one back here, that one moves out of engagement with the lifting pin. So we have a lifting pin, we have two arbors. But the arbor is shunted forward, so this one isn't reached by the pin, and therefore you get lifting on the one pin only. Now, to see that working, what I'll do is move the cannon pinion forward. So there's our warning. The arbor is moved forward, and there's the striking. So the striking is occurring now on the one hammer only. The back hammer here isn't being reached by the pins. So we have just had the clock striking 9. Now, as the hands advance still further, this lever will drop off of the cam, so the arbor slides forward again. We've just had our warning, and now we should have Ting Tang. So we have the quarter past operating on the two hammers. Right? So that means now then that the locking plate here is divided up. Not only to strike the hour, but it has extra divisions to strike the quarter past, the half past, and the quarter to. So if you've understood all of that, you'll begin to see that the normal Ting Tang striking train is totally independent of any repeat mechanism, and unless the pull repeat cord is pulled, the clock will continue to operate in that way. So at say 9:15 we have Ting Tang. At 9:30, Ting Tang, Ting Tang. At 9:45, Ting Tang, Ting Tang, Ting Tang. And then at 10 o'clock, 10 blows by one hammer on one bell. Now let's move on and have a look at the repeat mechanism. Now, when the clock is wound weekly, you are only winding the normal strike spring and the time spring. The repeat mechanism spring is wound every time you want the clock to repeat. And it's wound in this way. You pull the repeat cord, like so. So that has just told you that the last hour was 9, and it's a quarter past the hour. So it's 9:15 or thereabouts. So what actually happened there was that the clock, first of all, it repeated the last hour. Then it went on to show you the last quarter or the nearest quarter. Now it's done in a rather clever way. When we wind the train, in fact, the hammer lifting wheel here revolves with the winding of the train, and the wheel itself has 3 long pins and 12 short ones. Now, let me think a minute. Yes, at 1:45, it will strike the last hour, which was 12 o'clock. So all 12 pins will be used, plus 3/4. So these 3 pins will be used. But at, say, 1:15, only those 2 pins are used. So, say it's 1:15, you will wind and use only those 2 pins. And this one will operate first with 1 blow, showing you that it was 1 o'clock. Then this pin will operate, giving you Ting Tang, showing the last quarter. So that was 1:15. Now, at 1:30, when we pull the pull repeat cord, we use a little more of that wheel. We use that much of the wheel. So we get 1 blow for the last hour, and then Ting Tang to show that it's 1/2. Then at 1:45, we use that much of the wheel. So we get 1 blow for 1 o'clock, and then Ting Tang to show 1:45. So to make that happen, we've got 12 short pins, 3 long pins. The 3 long pins operate on both hammers. The short pins operate on only a single hammer. Now let's have a look and see better how that is done. This lever here is the actual locking lever, and this piece here will assist the locking. For example, if this lever drops into the position it's in now, it will show, I believe that is the 1:15, yes, that is the 1:15 position. But at 1/2, now to get 1/2, we'll turn this around to trigger the repeat mechanism. Well, it won't trigger the repeat mechanism, it'll trigger the strike, but it'll put us in a position for trying to repeat. Now observe at the moment that the train is locked by this lever here dropping between those 2 pins and butting against that centre. If I pull the pull repeat lever, in fact the locking now occurs in a different position. Right? So what's happened is that this lever, or this wheel, runs down just a little bit further than it did at 1/4. So instead of operating just 1 of these pins, because it can run down further, it operates 2 of the pins. But at 1:45, instead of locking in that position, it'll lock against the next pin over, allowing this to run down just a little bit further still. So if we take the angle of the pins, at 1/4, the pins were virtually horizontal. At 1/2, the pins were at a slight angle. And then at 1:45, it'll be around at an even steeper angle, meaning that the hammer lifting wheel, the wheel with the pins in, turns a little bit further at the different quarters, operating more pins. So now let's come around to 1/45. So we've had Ting Tang, showing 1:45. So it's 9, on the repeat we would now expect 9 blows, plus Ting Tang. So we wind by pulling the repeat cord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ting Tang. 1:10. Alright? Now for the hour, we don't want the Ting Tangs operating at all. So let's get the clock operating the hour a minute. Now at the moment, the surprise piece is operating. And this lever here, when we pull the repeat cord, this now locks in a much earlier position. Sorry, Tash, it's time for lunch, so you can bear with it for a couple of minutes. Ray, could you inform the people in the other room it's lunchtime? I should go on for 2 minutes.
Lunchtime.
Right. What's going to happen now is that this is locking in a much earlier position. Being earlier, it means that none of these 3 long lifters will operate. So therefore we have only the hour and no Ting Tangs. So here we pull the repeat mechanism, almost losing the clock. Right, you can interrupt this in the middle of a sequence because it'll only repeat what's already done. So we wind again and see it happening properly this time. The clock should now strike 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it did continue, in fact, to strike the 3/4 because the surprise piece didn't operate. I haven't turned the cannon pinion around far enough, so I'll do it now. Now it should operate. This is what should have happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No Ting Tangs because the surprise piece was operating. Okay, which prevented this lever here from falling. Now, to enable all that to happen, that's the magic of this lever lying across here. That lever operates in conjunction with a snail. And how far you wind this each time depends upon these little teeth here in the snail butting against that piece there. Now, that in turn is controlled by how far this falls, controlled by the snail. Now let's pull the repeat again and hold up the strike so you can see what actually happens. As I'm pulling, you notice this lever drops onto the snail. Right? So obviously that will fall at different heights depending upon which hour it is. So it's fallen for the moment in the 10 o'clock step, which limits how far this travels. So eventually the end of this lever is going to be butted by one of these projections. Right, it's now butting into the 10 o'clock step. But because the surprise piece is operating, hidden from view at the moment, because the surprise piece is operating, we get no Ting Tangs. Instead, now that I've finished winding the train will run down using one hammer and strike 10 blows. Right?
I see, yeah, I'm going with it, yeah.
And then of course at 1/4 this will strike 1/4, so that was 10, so it only went Ting Tang. But if you pull the repeat lever, although the same position here will butt, this lever here allows locking to take place in a slightly different position, allowing one of your long pins to operate.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ting Tang. Showing 10:15.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Right. Any questions you'd like to ask about it?
I think that's pretty clear on that one.
Okay. That's the case for Ting Tang and the hands. That is the grand Sonnerie and the hands. The two bells we can see here. It would be nice to have the sound of this. So at 7 o'clock one would have, sorry, probably on the low bell. And then at 7:15, at 7:30, at 7:45, and then at 9 it'll just be 9 blows on the lower bell again. But when you pull the pull repeat lever, one would have, supposing it's 3:45, one would have 1, 2, 3, 1/4, 1/2, 1/4. Yeah? When it strikes, it probably will strike on the high note rather than the low note, in fact. For the hour it may well strike on the low note. I'm not quite sure until I work out which hammer actually does operate on which bell.